Hello and welcome to episode 78 of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast. You'll notice that things are looking a little bit different this time around. Rather than saying my name is Marty, I'm going to say my name is John, and I'm joined by Dave.
Hello.
And I'm joined by Aaron.
I don't like change.
Oh, you sound like Marty. Of course, you will notice that things are looking a little bit different this time around if you are watching the YouTube edition of the podcast. If you are just listening, like so many of you do, to our normal podcast, you will realise that I am not Marty starting off the podcast. It's me, John, instead. Marty, unfortunately, is not feeling too well. He has, unfortunately, caught the Rona, testing positive on, was it Sunday? Sunday or Monday he tested positive. Which unfortunately means, guys, we put must have been Monday, caught it because I put a tweet out from the Door 14 account, bigging up the weekend to come. We're obviously heading away. Aaron, not you, unfortunately, you'd never planned to come. Let's be honest.
Hold on. January was probably the most expensive month of my entire life.
Well, you can come now for free because there's first seats everywhere.
That's true. You bring beer money and you're all set, to be honest. So, unfortunately, it was going to be sort of Dave, yourself, me, Marty, and really badly, for the second time, young David, Marty's nephew, is losing out on his first away games thanks to coronavirus. He was supposed to come with us to playoffs 2.5 years ago, and it didn't happen, and now his first trip to Scotland isn't happening because his uncle got coronavirus. But as I said in our chat, it's probably just as well he's not coming. It's imagine Marty texting him. Can you imagine Marty texting him? It's like, I've got coronavirus. I can't really go on this trip, but sure, go and drink with your uncle's friends. It'll be fine. Like, we know David well enough, but that's awkward enough, isn't it?
Yeah, not for your first, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, other than obviously the sad news about this weekend, how have you been? We all caught up for the first time in person at the weekend there, Aaron, for a bit of a, I don't want to call it a housewarming. I'm sure there'll be a drunken event at some point, but for your son, a belated party for your son's birthday.
Yeah, it was his birthday. I think it was 2 weeks prior, but I missed the podcast.
Well, you're his dad. You should know.
Yeah. But, that particular week I missed the podcast, and we had to push his birthday back because I had the Rona. So it's definitely making its rounds. So yeah, we had a 4-year-old birthday, two 4-year-old birthday parties, one on the Saturday and one on the Sunday. That was a full-on weekend. I think I need to sleep for a week to get through that.
Yeah, you could probably do the weekend off instead of that. You know what? A weekend off. Come to Scotland. Come on, drink beer, relax, put your feet up.
So you've got to see the good part of the house, and if you are watching on the webcams, you can see that my where I'm recording the podcast doesn't look that good. It's just full of boxes. I did try to, on this cardboard box that's behind me, because I can't find my jerseys at the moment because they're somewhere. I drew a jersey on it, but you can't see it.
I'm trying really hard, and I really can't see anything.
In the middle, it says, the team is heavy or lift with care, heavy object. That's the name of the team.
Right.
Yeah.
I can see the NHL franchises calling you now for that name. Dave, what about you then? It's been I caught up with you at one of the games this weekend. I was with Marty for one. Yep. So
yeah, it was definitely good to get watching hockey. I took a couple of games off. Am I right? I think. Just with the way the season is and stuff, I've decided to take a few breaks, spend some family time, knowing that I'm going away this weekend. So yeah, it's been good banter. Can't wait for the weekend though.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll probably talk more about the weekend as we go through. I'm sure we're definitely not going to rub it in if Marty happens to tune into the podcast this week that we are definitely heading to Scotland for some beers and some games. Guys, let's kick off the way that we always do, or the way that Marty normally kicks off. This is going to be really weird, sort of me taking the reins, if you like, for this end. But let's have a look at the Elite League and how things have ended up after the last weekend of games. Still sitting at the top of the table, we have the Sheffield Steelers on 51 points from 30 games. The Cardiff Devils sitting second with 49 points from 34 games. Our own Belfast Giants, very close behind after what was a good weekend against the Devils, on 47 points from 31 games. The Nottingham Panthers sit absolutely rooted in fourth place, as they have been for the last number of weeks, with 31 points from 30 games. The Guildford Flames sit in fifth with 28 points from 31 games. The Coventry Blaze on 26 points from 27 games sit in sixth place. The Glasgow Clan are in seventh with 26 points from 28 games. The Manchester Storm have moved up into eighth with 25 points from 31 games, with the Dundee Stars dropping back down into those bottom two places and the places that miss playoffs at this point, with 23 points from 28 games. And if you've been keeping count, you will know exactly who is at the bottom of the table because they've been there for the last couple of months. It's the Fife Flyers in 10th place with 17 points from 30 games. Dave, not much change at the top of the table. A little bit of moves in the middle and bottom, but nobody's really moving that much around, are they?
Yeah, so from with all the excitement at the start of the season with people flying up and down the table left, right and centre, it's sort of settled in a bit. The weekend for the Giants was highly successful. It was an amazing run of form considering how the Devils have been playing over the last few months. They come away with a double-header with 3 out of the 4 points. Ain't half bad, like so. And then with that rout of a first game was completely unexpected. So it's definitely looking in the right direction. I do think it's now getting close to being Sheffield's league to lose. They're really starting to settle into that lead, and there's no sign of them tripping up at this stage. But hey, they've still got to play the Giants 5 times, so.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, those are big need to win games probably for both teams, even with Sheffield sitting at the top there. Aaron, does anything jump out at you as looking unusual when you look to the bottom of the table? I mean, the same. Really, we've only got 2 teams that are changing places at this point. It's Manchester and Dundee who are really fighting to stay out of that no postseason hockey spot down at the bottom. But does anything jump out at you right now with the way the table sits?
I'm quite interested to see what happens with the Blaze, actually. So they're currently on 27 games from 26 points. If you bring that up to the likes of like Nottingham Panthers sitting on fourth, sorry, they're 3 games ahead. It's not going to get up to might.
They would if they got their games in hand. They would leapfrog them.
Yeah, so just wondering to see if Coventry Blaze can jump up there. So have to keep an eye on those guys.
Well, it's interesting, like you talk about, could the Coventry Blaze leapfrog based on last night's game against the Belfast Giants? You wouldn't really think that they're going to do that. I mean, a 7-1 drubbing, I think it was, with a second hat-trick in 3 games for the Belfast Giants, with, I think it was Lewis Hook coming up clutch with a hat-trick in Coventry last night. That's fine. We'll leave the Elite League for now. We are going to come back to talk about the Elite League fairly shortly in the other competition that we try not to talk about, but we will have a chat about it in Period 1. Let's have a look over at the NHL. And similar to how Marty does it, I am not going to go through all 32 teams. I am going to stick to the wild cards. When we look in the Eastern Division, if I got that right or if I got that wrong, I always take the mick out of Marty for this. It's the Eastern Division Metropolitan or Eastern Conference Metropolitan Division. There we go. Finally got it. There you go, Marty. I hope you had a laugh at me there, Marty. You deserve it. So in the Metropolitan Division, we've got the Hurricanes are sitting with 44 games played for 65 points. The New York Rangers sit in second, 47 games played, good for 64 points. And the Pittsburgh Penguins sit 47 games played as well, good for 64 points. In the Atlantic Division, Florida sit in first place, 47 games played for 69 points. Tampa are sitting 46 games played for 66 points. And Marty's Toronto Maple Leafs are in that coveted third spot right now with 43 games played, so quite a few games in hand, and sitting on 63 points. In the wildcard spots right now, both Washington and Boston sit taking up those 2 wildcard spots in the East. Moving over to the West, in the Central Division, Colorado are sitting 44 games played with 68 points. Nashville Predators, 47 games played with 60 points, so a big swing there, big difference in games played and points there. Dave, the Minnesota Wild have taken a step up. They're out of the wild card spots and they're into that 3rd spot with 42 games played, so quite a lot of games in hand over the likes of my Preds with 59 points. In the Pacific then, we've got Vegas sitting in first place, 48 games played, good for 59 points. LA sitting 47 games played, good for 55 points. And Anaheim Ducks sitting 48 games played for 55 points as well. The wild cards in the West then are St. Louis and Calgary. Guys, looking across there, if you want to concentrate on your own teams, Aaron, sorry, you may not want to concentrate on your own team.
I'm starting to think that we might not win the cup this year.
Well, all of your talk early in the season that the signs were coming, the stars were aligning. It's not happening, is it?
That's my bullshit every year. I mean, beep. That's my story every year. So it is. This is the year. This is totally the year. This might not be the year for the Flyers.
You say that. Philadelphia sitting 46 games played, good for 38 points. You are a long way off the wild card at this point. And I think it's probably a fair assumption to think that you're probably not going to see any postseason hockey. Dave, what about the Wild? What are you thinking? What are you seeing there?
See the run up to the All-Star game, they were probably one of the most on-form teams in the NHL. Yep. They were fantastic to watch. It's been a bit of a turbulent change over the last few years for the Wild, trying to find sort of their identity again. They had sort of just became a team that sort of middle table, stay around the middle table, hope for the best. Not really scoring, but not really conceding a hell of a lot. And it meant that you were winning games, but they weren't always the most interesting to watch. But over the last few weeks, it's definitely been a different story, and hopefully that'll continue. We'll get to see some more exciting games and hopefully make a good run coming into the playoffs and keep that going as far as we can. I think it should be an interesting postseason. I think currently, looking at the league, the most surprising thing, the most ongoing surprise for me is Montreal. I haven't seen a team get that big a thumping in a long time. So 45 games played with 8 wins. That is nasty.
Well, it's certainly showing, isn't it? I think just yesterday they announced a change of GM and it was also a change of coach. May not be a change of coach. It's definitely the GM has changed, but there's big changes needed in Montreal. There has been for a few years. Let's be honest. We talk about their boom and bust, and sometimes they're amazing, sometimes they're terrible, and a lot of the time they rode that on the back of Carey Price. But I don't think they've got that excuse anymore.
The big teller there is the goal difference. It's a minus 79 goal difference. Just is not sustainable for an NHL team, in my opinion, and that's saying something considering Arizona's is 71. So
let's be clear, minus 71.
Minus 71, sorry. Yeah, I meant to Arizona at the start. Might as well just be the same as saying minus. So it's just whenever you're coming in below Arizona, especially these days, you've done something wrong, and it needs to be fix that ship. Put on those goals, do whatever you need to do, and just stop losing games.
Needs to be wholesale changes there, definitely. Not to speak for Marty, but looking at the Leafs for him, I think we can say he'd be pretty happy seeing them up in the spots there for postseason hockey. They're on a bit of a streak at the minute. Six wins, yeah. 6 wins. So, I mean, that's the position that you want a team like the Leafs to be in. Not that we look at it with teal-tinted spectacles at all here, but with their coach being a certain, I don't know, probably the second best Coach Keefe that you could afford out there. I don't think Toronto can afford Adam, but they settled for Sheldon, and it seems to be working out okay for them. For myself, the Preds, things were looking good, if I'm perfectly honest. We lost last night, which was not so good, but I think I can maybe put it down to an all-star slump. We did have 3 guys who were in Vegas for the all-star weekend just past there. So it could just be a case of guys coming back, guys having not iced really for a week, maybe. It's no excuse. Other teams are winning after the All-Star break. Somebody's got to lose, somebody's going to win. But I'd like to see them kind of steady the ship there and stay in that second position. I'd like to see some postseason hockey from that Preds team. I think with Saros coming on form, I think he's got a good opportunity there with that team to maybe prove something in the first season without Rinne, whose jersey will go up into the rafters soon.
Are you worried with the amount of the games that you've played that there's some other teams might come?
A little, but when you look further down the table, I think we're safe. As long as we keep form against teams that we've already beaten, then I don't think we should be at any risk. But again, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. Like, any team can go on a winning streak, and any team can go on a losing streak at this point. I am absolutely hedging my bets here, and I don't want anything replayed to me if the Preds absolutely tank and don't make playoffs. So that's why I'm sitting on the fence.
I can't comment on losing streaks.
Well, no, you can, because you used that as an excuse as to why you were going to win the cup at the start of the season. So let's leave that kind of at the door, shall we? Guys, unless we've got anything else, we are going to talk a little bit more about a certain Elite League competition, but we're going to talk about it in period 1 of hockey. Period 1 of hockey then is our local cover-up. Local cover-up?
Cover-up? That's because you're going to talk about the Challenge Cup.
It is, yeah. Anyone would think I was on a legal retainer from Tony Smith. Sorry, our local roundup of coverage from UK ice hockey, be that the Elite League, the EIHL, or any of the leagues around. Guys, I am going to start with the Challenge Cup, because last week on the 2nd of February an announcement was made that the Elite League, Premier Sports Elite League Challenge Cup semi-final games, which we already knew had been agreed to be one-leg games to allow the league to catch up with postponed COVID games through December, they have been announced as now being league games or league events. This has meant that the 2 teams who will be hosting, the 2 higher seeds, Belfast Giants and the Sheffield Steelers, are effectively no longer responsible for those games. They are league events, and as such, tickets and season tickets, which were originally sold perhaps with the idea of being that you get into all of your team's games, are no longer valid. All tickets would have to be purchased at a flat rate of £10 plus any standard fees that apply through any booking mechanism. For example, here in Belfast, that would be Ticket Disaster. Guys, this caused a little bit of ructions. Obviously, mainly from season ticket holders who perhaps were maybe sold a product and had it described as all home games. Now, we can't talk too much on the Cardiff situation, and we can't talk too much on the Nottingham situation, because obviously these 2 teams are teams that no longer have home games for the Challenge Cup semi-final. However, Belfast and Sheffield are the 2 key teams. Now, I haven't had a chance to look, so I don't know offhand if Sheffield, as part of their season ticket, actually included these games. But Belfast did. Belfast did sell their season tickets for this season on the basis that all League and Challenge Cup games would be covered. That's obviously no longer the case, and we're yet to hear anything about what is effectively the loss of value of a season ticket. Guys, I know that you guys don't have any skin in the game. I do. I'm going to be very careful about what I say when we're talking about this story, because I don't want all of a sudden my barcode to not work when I go through the stalls anymore. Dave, what's your thoughts on the situation with this?
Yes, so I totally understand why they're doing it. They just did it arse about face. They announced the fact that... first, they edited their website, which I have proved with the Wayback Machine. It's easy done. Anyone can do it with a computer. on the day that they announced that people had to pay, they changed their website to take off all Challenge Cup games. They changed it to the quarterfinals or whatever it was.
They changed it to the group stages.
Group stages. Yeah.
Now,
okay.
I want to discuss that in a second as well.
So then they done that, and then they announced that season ticket holders would get a discounted rate, as if they were always meant to pay for it, which wasn't the case. And then they brought out a statement saying, "Oh no, that's because we're having to do it as a league event because the Nottingham Panthers don't have a home game," and so they done it completely arse about face. What they should have done was have this statement come out first. This one, the one that's on the link, that says that it's a league event, and because of the two cancelled games, there's now going to be a flat fee for all tickets, whether you're a season ticket holder or not, and then leave it with the Giants to fix their product that they've sold, because they have sold a product, and there is a contract that they should be honouring. Now they have the opportunity to value that game at whatever way they want. They could say, "Oh well, it's only, it's not a league game, it's a Challenge Cup game, so we'll give you a $5." You know what I mean, or something. Or they give you nothing. But if they give you nothing, they're in breach of their contract. Now the problem you have here is you can't fight it. If you want to fight it, all you'll do is you'll get your refund on the remainder of your league. You'll get that, and you'll get your season ticket cancelled. That's just the way these things run, and that's what happens. For example, if you buy a car that was meant to come with like a 3 years service, and then they negate on the 3 year service, they'll say, well, right, then give me the car back and we'll cancel the finance. That's the same thing, and that's the way they run it. It's just the way the contracts, because they're in breach of contract, so they just void the contract. And that's what so there's nothing you can really do for these things. It's just
surely there's more to it than that. Coming from being a team, they don't want to.
No,
they've already pissed off quite a few people here with this.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not going to go, right, well, your complete ticket's completely void.
No, this is if you decide to challenge them on illegal grounds. Yeah. They have a good faith thing to do here that they should be doing, but they have no legal obligation to do that.
No, they don't, and it's interesting. You talked there, Dave, about the fact that they changed the website to show the change of offering. Now that change went from all League and Challenge Cup games at the SSE Arena to the reworded version was all League and Challenge Cup group stage games. Now, what's interesting when you think about what's happened here is we've already played a quarter-final against the Coventry Blaze. The Coventry Blaze game was not a group stage game. It was, in fact, a knockout stage game, and I got in with my season ticket. Again, I'm going to be very careful about what I say here because there's not too many John Fords with season tickets. So, I mean, Aaron, based on that information and what Dave said, it's a tricky situation, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. You're absolutely right. Like, we're in a slightly different situation where I'm looking at it going, hey, a tenner for a ticket? That's all right. It's going to bring more people to a game, but I can completely see it. They should be doing something for the season ticket holders, especially the way I think Dave mentioned that they said that they would offer a discounted ticket. Okay, yep, I get it is a discounted ticket, but it's a discounted ticket for everyone. For Joe Blogs,
so
who doesn't have a season ticket, so it
should
be
for season ticket holders. Just to clarify, what's happening for the season ticket holders is that they aren't offering an additional sort of discount or anything. All that you're able to do is go in and secure your season ticket seat for a week. Now, I think the statement came out last week. So I think it's actually today or yesterday was the cut-off. If you can't tell by the way that I'm talking, I clearly haven't bought my season ticket seat because at this point I'm undecided as to whether I'm going to the game or not. Now, I'll guarantee you it'll get to the day and I'll buy the ticket. I'll still end up going. As long as probably at least one of you guys are going, I'll probably go. But it is one of these things that just kind of rubs you up the wrong way when you're sold one thing on a trust basis. And again, I totally understand why they've had to do it. The decision has been taken out of the Giants' hands. Yeah. This isn't a Giants decision. Let's be totally honest or be completely fair to the team. This isn't a Giants decision. This is an Elite League decision.
Well, you say that. It was their decision to edit their website and to try and hide it. As I said, it's arse by face. If they were totally honest with their fans from day one, I don't think there's a Giants fan out there that would have complained.
Yeah.
It's the fact that there's the dishonesty. Nobody wants to complain. They just want to go and watch hockey and enjoy ourselves. They don't want to see the Giants go into their website and change the thing to make it look like they're the ones at fault, And I don't. As I said, if you had came out to the Giants and said because of Corona and cancelling one of the legs, we have to do a flat fee for the games. Sorry, season ticket holders, we will do something. I guarantee everybody went, oh well, I'm not too happy about it, but oh well.
Yeah. And let's be totally honest. Like we say that we were sold a product and we're not getting that product. At the start of the season, or even a year and a half ago, because I rolled over my ticket from the season that never happened, the chances of going through to the knockout stages and getting to the semi-final stage of Challenge Cup is not a given. We're not guaranteed those extra 2 home games. What might actually turn out to be an extra 3 home games if the rumours of the statement that Cardiff put out are to be believed, and if we go through, the higher seed gets the home game. It's no longer a neutral venue game at Cardiff anymore for the one-off final. We're not guaranteed those games, so I mean, is there a value to those tickets, to the tickets to those games? It could be argued that there is no value in the season ticket for those games because we're not guaranteed those. What the Giants are guaranteeing by giving you those in a normal season is bums on seats for a game that might be on a Wednesday night, and hoping that half or 3/4 of their season ticket seats are filled on that night, so they've got a crowd on a school night. So it's a tricky one. I get both sides. But like you say, Dave, and I don't want to call it dishonesty, I just want to call it maybe miscommunicating and quietly hiding the previous statement, or trying to is the bit that rubs you up.
A miscommunication would have been if they added an additional page. It's the fact that and it's not even that they edited the new season ticket page. They edited last year's season ticket page. So it has 2021 to 2022 season, and they edited that one. It is complete. If I done that in work, I would get fired. It's just the way it is. It's they're trying to amend the facts. And as I said, if they'd have came out and been honest from the start, nobody would have had a problem.
Yeah. Look, it's something that will rumble on. I'd like to think that we'll hear something further from the Giants. I'm not entirely sure that we will, but we'll wait to see if anything gets mentioned, especially with the prospect of playoff hockey coming around. Again, games that we're not guaranteed. Could that be something that could be used to maybe, I don't want to say butter up, but give something back to season ticket holders who've potentially lost out there. But again, we'll leave that there and we'll move on. Guys, something strange happened across the Elite League over the last week or so, and it involved chocolate bars. Don't ask me where this has all come from. Actually, I can't tell you where it's all come from. As with all things strange in the Elite League, it came from Sheffield. Let's be honest. So Marty threw this up. We had a quick discussion about this on the group chat. The Sheffield Steelers last weekend had a one-time only Kit Kat toss. That's a very difficult thing to say if you're trying to keep it PG. Evan Mosey in Sheffield. I want to say Sheffield Steelers podcast. They put it in their press release as the Sheffield Steelers podcast. As far as I can tell, it's just stuff that they throw up on their website every now and then as audio clips. But Evan Mosey said that his favourite chocolate bar is a Kit Kat. And he said in this podcast that I think if he scored or if the team won, he wanted Kit Kats thrown on the ice. So, of course, they had their Kit Kat night, they won the game that night, and Kit Kats got thrown on the ice. But that's not the big story, is it? 'It? Because this went further than Sheffield and it went further than Evan Mosey. The Cardiff Devils latched onto this on their social media and went and asked Mac Carruth what his favourite chocolate bar was. And it turns out his favourite is a Twix. Well, didn't that just go down fantastically with the Belfast crowd, especially on the Friday game in Belfast? Matt Carruth barely made it through half of the third period before he was pulled after what was a disastrous showing. Now, we're going to talk more about that game later on against the Belfast Giants. And he took a bit of stick for it, including from our own Finn McCool, who was brandishing a lovely sign promising Twixes for 2 points. Well, Finn, I hope you followed through, and I hope Mac got his Twix on the night. Guys, this is a weird one, isn't it? Because most of the time, hockey teams are telling you not to throw anything on the ice. Now, obviously, that there are traditions. There are teams who, so say an example for Nashville, we throw a catfish on the ice at least once a season as a tradition. I think is it Detroit?
One catfish, or everyone brings a catfish?
I think one person brings a catfish. Normally, so what happens is it has to be snuck into the arena. So it has to be a fan who sneaks it into the arena. I think the same as with the Detroit Octopus. Yeah, a fan has to sneak it in. It's not official.
It's actually well, I don't know if it is still now, because obviously they've moved around since then, but it used to be the local fishmonger used to sneak in the octopus, and that's cause it used to be 8 wins to win the Stanley Cup, and it was always in the first match, the Stanley Cup finals. They would threw the octopus on, and if it was like good luck, if they won them all, then there's eight games to win it.
8 legs. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So now, obviously, there's other traditions as well, and there's another fine tradition of throwing things on the ice that we saw in that very game against Cardiff, and it's the old hat trick. With JJ Pikanic in 12 minutes in the first period, managing to get a hat trick, and the hats flew. And fair shout to there was a few guys round on the far side from us who threw hats on. The Boomerang guys, fair play. The hat budget for Boomerang must be a hell of a lot bigger than what my budget for hats is. The rate that they're having to throw them on the ice this year. But a statement was put out, I think, from a couple of places, and the Steelers have confirmed that their Kit Kat toss would be a one-time only event. They said it was a bit of fun, but it should not carry on through the rest of the games in the future. Obviously, there's a risk comes with throwing anything onto a playing surface, and the last thing you want to be doing is encouraging things to be thrown on the ice.
You could get some whip with a Kit Kat, like, couldn't you?
Well, my thing would be, you've got like a four finger Kit Kat. That's fine. That might bounce. You go at someone with a Kit Kat chunky. I mean, you're going to be lucky to not get an assault charge against you for that one. So that was a bit of fun.
What would you go for if you were able to get something like, if you could go, hey, I love a good boojum, jalapenos, sour cream.
Here, someone got a burrito bowl.
Well,
as long as they're not fired at you at the rate that the subways are in Belfast, that would be terrifying.
What chocolate bar would you go for?
Ooh. Who are you throwing that to first?
Dave.
Good Snickers.
Good Snickers.
Oh, yeah, I love a good Snickers.
Okay, John.
John's a bit too old. He thinks it's still called marathons, you see.
I'm younger than all of you.
You look older than us.
I'm a good 2 years younger than all of you guys. I don't know. I'm really boring when it comes to chocolate. I just like...
I like a bit of dairy milk.
I'm a dairy milk guy. Yeah, to be fair, I'm kind of dressed like what was the guy in black? What was the guy in black?
Dairy milk.
Dairy milk. I'm kind of dressed like the. I'm dressed like the council estate. Milk tray.
Milk tray. That's what it was.
I'm dressed like the council estate milk tray man at the minute, all in black. No, a bit of dairy milk. I love a bit of dairy milk, but if you're gonna throw it, it would have to be because you know the way that chocolate bars have gotten smaller and smaller and smaller, it would have to be, someone would have to go and find either one of the old school ones where it's about that, like 2 inches thick, or like Dave was saying, like the family bar, someone's going to have to wing that on if I ever scored a hat-trick.
Like the old Yorkies. Remember the Yorkie bars you used to get? Get one of those, knock you out.
Looked like a brick.
It was. What about you, Aaron?
Toblerone?
No, definitely not. Star bars are good at the moment.
Oh, Star Bar's a good bar, yeah.
Be interesting.
That would be my
Wonder what Marty would go. What chocolate bar can we insult him the most by saying that he'd want thrown on? Yeah, Turkish Delight. I bet he's a Turkish Delight kind of guy.
Yeah, or Bounty.
Oh yeah, he's definitely he's that guy, isn't he? At Christmas, he's the guy that just grazes all the empty boxes for bounties.
Yeah.
Sorry, Marty. We know you're sick and everything, but you get no sympathy here. Right, we'll leave that one there. So just remember, kids, don't be throwing chocolate onto the ice, or you may be asked to leave the arena. Guys, I'm gonna take things over to Dundee now. We spoke about this quite a long time ago, actually. I think we spoke about this probably about a year ago on the podcast. This is the story that former Dundee Star player Lucas Nielsen has been back in court in Dundee. He has been ordered to pay compensation to the man whose jaw he broke during a night out after having beaten the Flyers in Dundee. The players went out. The former Stars player knocked his victim unconscious. Now, I mean, beating the Flyers is one thing. You beat them 4-1, that's fine. Everyone beats the Flyers. You don't have to go out and knock people out for that.
I was about to say, like, it's a bad day when you have to be excited about that one. Like,
I mean, I know it's a local derby and everything. Like, I grew up watching those games, and they were tough games. They were tight games, but even still. But I mean, in all seriousness, guys, like we're laughing and joking here. This is a fairly serious situation. He also assaulted the guy's girlfriend as well, pushing her to the floor. But he's been ordered to pay compensation. I believe it's in the region of £3,000 to the victim. 2,200. My favourite part of the entire story is that he has said to the court that he will have to ask his parents to pay his fine for him because his current professional team hasn't paid him yet.
Oh,
grass isn't always greener, as they say.
Well, exactly. It's. I mean, this is the sort of thing
also,
that you...
3,200 for a broken jaw? That seems a bit low.
Doesn't it just?
Seems
like,
a bit low.
That would keep you off work. Like,
yeah.
Well, you wouldn't want to be... Like, I couldn't go to work, I couldn't talk to anybody.
No.
I know.
Yeah,
so, it's not great, and...
Wouldn't get out of bed for £3,000.
I mean... I wonder, was he up in front of DOPS? I wonder, did DOPS just take control of that courtroom for the day?
No, because they told us
3,200. He's not a repeat offender, so we'll just put this down.
They told us the fine. It can't be DOPS.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Are seriously, are the Dundee Stars doing anything about this?
No, so he doesn't play for them anymore. So this was 3 years ago. And he is no longer a Stars player. He's no longer connected to the team. He's playing for a Polish team now. So the Stars, I don't think in this story, certainly by the Daily Record, weren't approached for a comment because he's no longer an employee of the team, although he was at the time. I think I do remember when this was brought to court, the Stars did make a statement, but I think it was brought to court after the end of the season, again, when he was no longer a Stars employee. So
that's because their season ends earlier than everybody else's, doesn't it?
It does. Well, I mean, over here 2 weeks earlier, but yeah. So I mean, it's we're good at keeping up with our. There's another repeat one. You'd have to go back about 12 podcasts to find the last time we spoke about this. But there you go. There's the update, and poor Lucas is going to have to get his parents to pay his fine for him. It'll have to come out of his pocket money. Guys, then, I'm going to bring it back to the Elite League. And this is a guy that we spoke about, we spoke about in our group chat. I think we spoke about the fact that he had left his EIHL team. But this is Dave Whistle is on the move. And I'm just saying, in our group chat, I called this.
I think you mentioned it in the podcast as well.
Yeah, so did I? I think I did. Yeah, I think I mentioned. That's right.
Yeah.
I mentioned it at the time.
It is a really unfortunate picture of Dave Whistle they've used for the.
It is.
It's
It
like
is. I think that's clearly the quality of it is clearly a fairly new photo. So I think it's been taken in Leeds when he was coach there. But yeah, this is the story that Dave Whistle has joined the coaching staff of the Nottingham Panthers for the remainder of the 2021-22 season. Obviously, we know that the Panthers are a team in a little bit of disarray. Their GM, I'm going to get this wrong because there's only ever two Guys I remember being in the Elite League, and it's either Guy Lepine or it's not Guy Lepine, is it? It's Guy Doucette. It's Guy Doucette is the GM in Nottingham. He's brought in Dave alongside the current acting coach behind the bench and brought in the experience that Dave brings. He's obviously got experience of the well, I don't want to say it wasn't the Elite League, it was the ISL days. Dave was here in Belfast, wasn't it?
Super League, yeah.
So he'll be assisting Mark Matheson in training and during the week and on the bench during game days. Dave, what's the thoughts? I don't really know too much about Dave. I don't have much experience of him, obviously because I'm a blow-in fan, if you like. But what's your thoughts on going into Nottingham?
He obviously did a cracking job when he basically set up the Giants when it came to the team. He brought quite a number of the Bracknell Bees from back in the day. Big names that we all know, Kalman came with him. So did Colin Ward, I think, as well. So, there's big names there that came with him. However, he hasn't been at that level in a while. He did coach, I'm nearly certain he spent a few seasons, it says here, he done a few seasons in Germany. So, he is a good caliber coach, but is it too much of an ask? It's a bit of a jump to go from the EIHL up to the Elite League, but they can't go any worse than they are currently. So hopefully, and he does, as it says in the thing, they do have a wealth of experience in hockey, so he should have a lot to delve on. I didn't realize that Rick Strachan had retired. That must have been a start of the season or something.
I think he did. Yeah, he was away.
Because that would have been a big loss for them. Because again, the wealth of it would be the same as our own Rob Stewart. The knowledge and history of hockey and just general knowledge about hockey that they bring, having been in the game for so long, is irreplaceable.
So you say that, and obviously we talked about the wealth of experience that Dave brings to him. Aaron, I mean, we know they've already chewed through a coach this season. They've had other on and off ice things have happened in Nottingham this season. Is Dave the guy to steady that ship? Can he help them towards any silverware? I mean, realistically, they've got to be looking at playoffs now, surely.
With Dave, he's saying there that it might be a big jump, but he has proven himself in the past, so there is a good chance that he could. But I am just a bit wary that it might be a bit too but just a bit too late for it.
Yeah,
is there how many games is there left? I know we're not like in the last burning days here, but
well, realistically, when you look at the way that games have had to be put back, we're actually only just in the second half of the season now.
All right. Okay. Well, they might be able to swing something around. I don't know if there's quite a gap between Nottingham and
don't get me wrong. I think the league is. I think the league. There's three teams who are in with a chance of the league. I don't think Nottingham are there, and I've done them a disservice, I think, by saying they've got their eyes on playoffs. Let's be perfectly honest. They're still in with every chance of winning the Challenge Cup as much as Belfast are. They have a game here in Belfast against the Giants in the semi-final. As far as they're concerned, it's 2 games to a trophy, the same as us. Yeah. But is Dave that steadying hand that's going to bring that team success this season?
You know what, actually, I just had a quick Google and I clean forgot. But he took over in Cardiff when, remember Brett Pope was ousted? Yep. He came in and he was the guy that took over interim at around the same time of year. He took over on the 16th of Feb that season. He's taken over on the 5th of Feb this season. So there's history of that, and I'm nearly certain it was that Andrew Lord came in straight after that.
Yep.
And then we know what happened to Cardiff. They went on to just literally win everything. So maybe
Do you think Dave Whistle?
he's-
Do you think Dave Whistle then is that guy that can go in? He's the guy to hit the reset button, and then a team can go from there. He's maybe not the guy to build it on, but he's the guy to stop the boat rocking.
He would be a perfect bench coach to stay with the Panthers, in my opinion, in the same role as I said, the Rob Stewart and Rick Strachan, those heavy hockey knowledge, and then get someone else to come in and lead the team, but be there because you need that. You need that to win trophies. You can't do it without it. And I think it might be a good shout for him. But can he take a back seat? You only know. You find out whenever it happens. He's always been a leader, so.
That's it. Well, I'll tell you what, it won't be long before we'll find out. The Panthers will be here in a couple of weeks, and we'll find out what shape they're in based on what we've seen so far this season. Guys, there's only one more story for the first period, and this is one that actually broke just a couple of hours ago. Now, I'm going to read this off the story because I haven't even had enough time to read this. This comes from the EIHA, and this is the news that the EIHA and AI camera manufacturer Pixelot have linked up to offer free video systems to junior clubs. So these AI automated video production specialists, Pixelot, are going to supply their mobile camera systems, the Pixelot Air, not an ad, to the junior clubs at no cost for 2 years. Teams that are associated with these junior clubs can also piggyback onto the system or purchase their own camera and tripod, all at reduced rates. The Pixelot Air is an integrated mobile solution for video capture, review, and analysis. After a game or practice, the video is available for coding, tagging, annotating on their built-in app. It's the ultimate sports camera for tracking and recording every play, according to their own PR. Board director
This podcast is not sponsored by Pixelot.
No, apparently not. Well, if they're putting all these cameras into the EIHA, we absolutely would want to get sponsored by them. You get the Door 14 badge on every single camera in the EIHA. Board director Matt Lloyd has said junior development is essential to the long-term sustainability and growth in our sport. In recognition of this, the EIHA board have chosen to invest in providing the Pixelot system at no cost to junior clubs. This will enable clubs to have the latest technology to support the development of our junior players. The board also realises that our senior clubs, including women's and rec teams, could benefit from access to the systems and have negotiated affordable rates for them to join the scheme and realise the benefits. Now, guys, another thing that I found out about this just through having a quick look on Twitter, Banners on the Wall, again, great source of news for EIHA stuff, has put out a tweet saying that he hopes that the NIHL teams who are associated with these junior clubs get involved with this, because apparently these cameras can be used to also produce a webcast.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So the platform allows for online streaming. So this could be a fairly open and accessible option for these NIHL teams and EIHA teams to actually produce webcasts. I mean, that would be fantastic, surely.
I can't see any drawback to that myself.
And we talk about development being absolutely key, and Matt Lloyd there, the board director for the EIHA, makes it fairly clear this is about long-term sustainability and junior development. Aaron, can't be any drawbacks to that, can there?
No, I'm trying to scrub through the video here to find out more about like it seems like there's a lot more to the system. It's not just camera, like it's AI, so they're able to track individual players and review. I think it looks class.
It looks like an absolutely brilliant system. I mean, this is something that I hope the Elite League has, and we just haven't heard about it. I've
got to admit, the first time I saw it, I was like, have they put a camera in a puck? Could you imagine?
It sounds to be something that's got maybe a very expensive monthly fee, and they're sort of reeling them in. You know, here's free for a couple of years.
Here's your 2-year free trial, and then the subscription hits, and it's £8,000 and your firstborn a year.
That's what I'm trying. I'm on the website trying to find out about costs or anything like that, but I don't see anything there.
I feel like this is one of those products that doesn't give you the price until you hit buy. Like,
'Cause
put your
they're
credit
not
card,
saying
put your
£1,000.
credit card information in,
Yeah.
and then we'll tell you how much we're going to take every month.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. It looks good.
Look, that sort of development, that's fantastic. If it does lead to improvements in junior development, or even the webcasts, or even if they're throwing stuff out on Facebook Live or onto YouTube Live for people just to watch, that would be absolutely fantastic. Guys, unless there's anything else, that brings us to the end of period 1, and we will move very swiftly on to period 2.
Hello and welcome to period 2. This is where we'll talk about Evander Kane for another episode. This as we close the recording of the last podcast, Evander Kane was signed to the Edmonton Oilers, which was John's made the face I made when I read about it, which was a bit of a shock. I can understand why. You get a top line forward for a budget price. But he also comes with a heck of a lot of baggage, especially for a Canadian team. With the rules he were breaking were a hell of a lot more serious in Canada than they were in the US. So he made that move, as I said, 2 weeks ago. He's had a few games. I haven't seen any decent stats, but he did get binned into the bench.
This is brilliant.
He was during the Washington Caps game. He gets completely binned into the bench. He's not paying,
He gets emptied. He gets completely bodied.
He steps up and just looks around him, going, "Yous aren't Oilers."
Do you know what? Do you know what? Do you know what? Cheers to that. I'll drink one to that.
I thought it was it's worth watching. Give it a wee watch whenever you get a few seconds. After you listen to the podcast, or if you're watching it on YouTube, you'll find it on our website. But yes, it is worth a watch if you've been following Evander Kane. And it's probably a nice way, hopefully, to end Evander Kane watch, because we're hoping that he doesn't do anything else stupid.
Do you know what? See the whole thing. See the fact that he signed in Edmonton. To me, that's a good news story, because at one point, I think probably all of our teams were linked to potentially signing him, and I think all of us were just holding our breath, hoping it didn't happen.
Well, all you would need to do is...
It was going to be Toronto, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked like Toronto for a while.
Marty's team.
If it had went to the Preds, sure, we know how to get rid of him. You just buy his jersey.
I would have. I'm not even joking. I would have gone straight to China. I would have bought that jersey, and I would have burned that jersey straight away.
So give that wee video a watch when you get a chance. Okay, so I will take Marty has give us a cracking couple of stories.
Sorry.
Aaron, have you forgotten how to podcast?
I have.
It's even worse. He's forgotten how to use his computer.
Yeah, I only noticed that Dave kept saying about watching it on YouTube, and I was like, but there's no link. And then I just looked down to the next story.
But my favorite part of the whole thing is you're wearing headphones.
I know. I don't understand why that happens. Hold on, I'm gonna go watch this again. It looks
Dave, carry on while he watches this.
Oh, I think you broke me, Aaron. So Marty's give us a few stories.
Sorry. That video's amazing.
Highly professional podcast we are.
Oh man!
See what happens.
I knew straight away as soon as Marty wasn't here, this was all gonna go to hell.
Yep. Right, I'm back in the room.
Did you see the bit I was talking about, Aaron, where he gets up from the bench and sort of looks around him to try and figure out where he is?
It's so good.
It's great. It is great. I love it.
I think he thought for a minute he was back in San Jose.
Sorry. Right.
No bother. So, Marty's give us a few stories. I'll grab one here, John, if you grab the other. I'm going to do the Olympics, and then you can do the next one. So, during the USA-Finland game, something really weird happened. So during the game, it was coming to the closing few minutes of the game, and Finland were on a power play, and came in on a breakaway. It was 2-on-1. Had a really cracking shot, but it hit the post, or so we were told. So they then play on the game. I think they lost 5-2 or 5-1 or something. It was definitely a USA win. But at the final whistle, the refs disappear off into their wee review box going, did we maybe miss something? And when you watch back the clip, which we'll put up, is on that breakaway, on that power play, the shot rang out and hit the back of the post, hit the back of the net, bouncing off the in-net camera, and the refs just totally missed it, totally biffed it.
Oh no!
And just let the game play on. So after the review, they then had to restart the game, roll back the clock to, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes to go, and then play the last 2 minutes again.
No way.
Yeah. So it was a bit... they were a bit lost, is the best way to put it, and I don't think anybody really knew what was happening. Even the announcer, I think it was Aaron Murphy, was doing the commentating on it, and he was like, "You see this shot? She hits the post and just doesn't make it in." And then you can see hear in his voice where he goes, "Oh, that sort of hits the back of the post. That's the back of the net."
Goes in.
And he was like, "They think they're going to review this." He thought they were just going to award the goal. But I was chatting to John about this before the recording, and I think the reason they backed the clock is that they're not allowed to re-ref. So they can't award penalties or goals or stuff after a game.
Okay.
So they had to roll it back to in
See,
play.
the only thing I can imagine that's happened there is that's hit the... And when you look at the camera, the angle from sort of centre ice, it does look like the puck hits the post. If you're not paying too much attention, it looks like it hits the post and swings out the back of the other side of the goalie. But when you're actually looking at it thinking there's a goal here, you can actually clearly see it hit the camera. But the only thing I can think that happens in this is there obviously isn't another break in play between that goal happening and the end of the period and the end of the game. So that's the only time the refs have got to go and actually review it. If someone watching the video in, it's obviously not Toronto, but in Toronto, is watching the game and goes, hang on a minute, guys, you've missed something here. So they've then got to go and review it and then roll back the clock. But it's unusual for it to be sort of 3-4 minutes of play without a whistle and then having to go back and do a goal review. It's bad luck for everyone, really.
Yeah, it's the thing that got me was that it does look like it hits. I thought it when I watched it, it was going post and out, because it is a super fast shot. Like it's a proper NHL grades shot. Like that's not messing around like that. That was some pelt, and I thought it just went post and out. And you see that all the time. Well, not all the time. You see that in really high caliber games where they're just so close that's hard to tell. But I think you're totally right there, John. It was there's no break in play, but because the refs missed it initially, I thought they would have. They probably would have whistled if they'd have been a bit more, on par. But
it was awarded.
It was awarded, and then they had to replay the last few minutes. It was rewarded.
So they actually the players all played 60+ minutes on that one without overtime because they had to roll the clock back to the time of the goal.
Now the issue would have been is if there had have been another goal.
Yeah.
Because you get that in rugby sometimes, where if there's say a penalty then a penalty, you miss, someone loses their penalty. You sometimes get that, but you never get it where they just wipe out someone's goal, or someone's points. That would be a bit of a car crash. So that's where what would have happened there. But thank Christ it didn't, because it would have been a whole different story.
It could have been very, very different.
Yeah, so the video's up, or the video's there. We'll get it up. Have a watch.
It'll be on our website. Yeah,
it's definitely worth a watch.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
I don't understand why I keep saying this.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you right now. I'm gonna be totally honest with you right now. A couple of times I've heard echoes of mine and Dave's voice. I'm pretty sure you're currently just wearing earmuffs. I think you're just wearing earmuffs and they're not actually doing anything.
Gas prices are going up. You got to keep yourself warm somehow.
They're the most expensive earmuffs I've ever seen, and I'm wearing one similar. Mine are plugged in though.
Yeah. Anyway,
where are mine?
sorry.
Where are mine? I have them too. I don't know what I've done with them.
This isn't a tech podcast.
Give that a watch. It's definitely worth it's for something that I've never seen before in my far too long worth time of watching hockey. So
You just forget how old you are.
yeah, no, I've forgotten how long I've been watching hockey, and I don't really want to tell anybody. Well, we did have, was it Dean Smith, where we had to play 30 minutes
I
the next
wondered if
day?
you were going to bring this up. The forgotten overtime. I was going to say, was it Dean Smith who was refereeing in the Olympics? I have to be really careful with this because I can never remember this was about the time that we started the podcast, and I want to say we were a podcast, but we had a Twitter page at this point, and I think Marty went on and slandered a referee.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the wrong referee. I think, was it Darnell? Was it Darnell he had a go at? And it was actually Hicks.
Hixie, it was Hixie.
It was
Yeah,
Hixie.
you're right. Yeah.
It was absolutely brilliant. Again, Marty, you're not here to defend yourself, and we're just going to absolutely say it was you.
I think I did something similar with Dean Smith once. Give him pure dog's abuse, and it wasn't him. Well, he wasn't there. He was like Cardiff or something, but I never found out who the ref was. It was before we got the game sheets and stuff. So I will fire Marty's other one over to you, which has a lovely tie-in to Northern Ireland, Belfast.
It does. So this was the announcement yesterday, in fact, that long-time Boston Bruins netminder Tucker Rask is finally hanging up the skates. There's quite a lot of Bruins fans in Belfast and around the Elite League, and probably within people who listen to us and currently now watch us on YouTube. Tucker hasn't been playing this season because he took the decision last summer to head off and get hip surgery. But he made his announcement through the Boston Bruins Twitter page yesterday to announce that he is finally going to hang up the skates and unfortunately is retiring from hockey. Dave mentioned that there is a bit of a link to Belfast, and obviously us here in Belfast, we know we have a link to, quite a heavy link to Boston, what with the Boston and Ireland link. But especially with Tucker and the Bruins, as how many years ago is that going to be now? 10 years ago? 11 years ago?
11 years, yeah.
Must be 11 years ago. The Boston Bruins did a tour of Europe and a few other countries, but it was the Belfast Giants' 10th anniversary season, and as part of that, the Boston Bruins came here and played a Belfast Giants select team. And there is still a fantastic, I think it's still in the arena somewhere, the fantastic picture of, I think, is it Murph standing with Rask on the ice, which is fantastic.
Ones, yeah.
But in his retirement announcement, Tucker does say that he's shared so many special memories over the years, bringing the Cup back to Boston in 2011, our runs to the final in 2013 and 2019, and playing overseas in the Czech Republic, Northern Ireland, and China. So there you go, guys. We got a mention in Tucker Rask's retirement announcement. So that's nice. There's another little claim to fame. We'll have to get that tweet framed and put up somewhere in the SSE.
I thought that it's as much as it's a big thing for his career. It was definitely one of my highlights as a fan. Seeing the Boston Bruins play a Belfast Giants team, even if that Belfast Giants team wasn't made up of all Belfast Giants, but the big names were there. Murph was the netminder and played unbelievably. And Big Colin Shields was there as well.
Shields was the captain. Was he the captain for that night?
I think he was, yeah.
Because I think, is that not one of the other famous pictures? Is Sheds taking the face off with Chara? I have to be honest. This was 11 years ago. I had just graduated from uni. And I had obviously started going to a few games with Marty, mostly because they were, hopefully I'm not going to get him in trouble here for this, but I was getting in for free because he had flexi tickets going spare through his work. So I was getting into the odd game, and the tickets for this game came up, and I was sold on hockey because obviously I grew up with hockey, but I wasn't hooked on Belfast yet, and this just didn't click with me at all about getting a ticket. And by the time I thought about looking for one, of course they were all gone.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get into the game.
They weren't cheap, so they weren't cheap.
I can imagine.
I'm sure they're not. They weren't Toronto Maple Leaf prices, like.
No, but they were they definitely weren't Belfast Giants prices. They were somewhere in between.
I've never been so happy when Marty told us that he was getting married over COVID. The idea. I mean, I know you guys sort of forked out and took us to Vegas and everything for my stag, but I just saw like my bank account empty and thinking I'm going to have to get tickets for the Scotiabank Arena. Like, this is going to be a nightmare.
We're going to have to do it at some point. Just because you got married doesn't mean we don't have to.
Here we can get tickets to Toronto and then sit outside it and watch it on somebody's phone. That's no problem. We'll go that far for you, Marty. We'll get you a beer.
We'll try and get Adam to tweet Sheldon, see if he can get us in the fire exit or something.
Tickets.
Oh yeah, good.
Open the back door for us, there, would you?
Us and Adam.
Yeah,
I like this.
Just like that, yeah. All right. Oh no, sorry, Aaron, you've got a story.
I do have a story.
say that with more shock in your voice.
Word. Oh my word! Aaron put a story in. Yeah, so going back to the Olympics for more bizarre scenes, more bizarre than Aaron putting a story into the actual podcast, and it's nothing to do with ghosts this time. So what happened was that we saw a delayed face-off between Canada and Russia. Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
So basically, we saw a delayed face-off in Beijing for an hour on Monday before the players returned to the ice wearing face masks, and it's all down to COVID. Basically, what happened was it was between the Canadian women's team and the Russian women's team, and was it 6 of their players hadn't provided their tests, and the week before. A number of the squad had been put into isolation after returning testing positive for the virus. And because there wasn't that maybe clear-cut answer on all of the tests being presented to the Canadian team, they were like, yeah, we're not going onto the ice. If we're not sure that these guys aren't fully negative, we're not putting ourselves at risks. They waited for an hour. The fact that they've put on masks, I don't know if did the tests ever come? Does anyone know?
Yeah, so I know more sort of at the background of this. So I saw the reports on the morning of this happening, just saw stuff on social media. So I threw the game on just quickly just to try and catch up with what was going on. So after the delay, I was able to catch up with the game about halfway through the first period. So what effectively happened is, with everything that's been going on with ROC, Russian Olympic Committee, they're not allowed to compete as Russia because they've had doping problems and medical stuff going on in Russia, so they're not allowed to compete as the country of Russia. But there had been problems with COVID in the camp, in the women's hockey team camp. The tests are supposed to go to the opposition team, or the results are supposed to go there so that the opposition team can be clear that who they're playing have all tested negative. Before face-off, just after warm-ups, so both teams had warmed up, they'd done their warm-ups on ice, the tests still hadn't been sent through to the American team, to the locker room, so they hadn't received paperwork that they saw as being essential to start the game, so they refused to take to the ice. The players came out. All the players, Russian, American, and the Stripes, were all out wearing face masks and played 2 periods flat out, not missing a beat, and the game was incredible as well. All wearing the masks the whole time. It was absolutely astonishing to watch. Now, for the 3rd period, apparently what happened is the tests finally came out, and there was nothing untoward in the reports that went to the Team US camp. So the Russian team... Canada, sorry. Team Canada decided that they would continue wearing masks, but the referees, the lineswomen, and the Russian team all removed their masks for the 3rd period. So that caused a little bit more confusion in the commentary box as to what was going on, but it all became clear once news filtered through that the tests had actually arrived. But by that point, the Canadians were like, well, we've played 2 periods. We're just going to be super careful, and we're going to play the 3rd period wearing them too. And it didn't matter because they still won.
I was going 6-1.
Yeah, they dropped them.
Wow.
Well, that's if you think about it. It's that they're being at that risk means a hell of a lot more to Canada with their medal hopes than it does to Russia. So, yeah, totally. I think if I was in the same boat, I would have done the same thing.
Absolutely. Fair play to them for doing that.
It's amazing. I find it amazing, like just walking around Tesco, and I'm all for masks, by the way, but sometimes just walking up the stairs with a mask. You know, some of the masks I have really restrict the air a bit.
That says more about your core fitness than it does about the mask. Let's be fair.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Let's move away from that quickly, because otherwise we're getting into Joe Rogan territory, and like I don't want to have to take us off Spotify. I don't want Neil Young coming at us.
If Neil Young comes at us, we'll surely double up our viewers. All right. I think that's everything from period 2. Is that right? Yeah. Awesome. Yep. We will move swiftly on to period 3.
Okay, welcome to period 3 of general Knocky News.
Knocky News.
Man, see doing Knocky News.
Months I've waited just to screw that up for somebody else.
Knocky News. Anyway, we have a couple of cracker stories here. One from Marty, which I clicked on to read out, and then realised it was completely in German. So I'm going to quickly pass the buck on to John.
Okay.
Just read it out verbatim, because you know the way your German's really, really good.
Oh, yeah. First, no, I'm not going to do that. This was the story. A lot of people, if you're on social media and you're anyway interested in hockey, you'll have seen this, because this story started small and got bigger and bigger the more traction it got online. Especially when you look at it's a team looking to rebrand. So this is the Frölunda Indians. We're looking to update their logo in the wake of sort of similar changes that have been done to, for example, the Washington Redskins, who were the Washington football team and are now the Washington Commodores or something. They've just announced their new team. I've probably got that entirely wrong. I can't remember what it is, but they moved away. No, they've moved away from Washington, because who would want to be there? Unless you're the Capitals and you're dominating. But still, Frölunda were looking to move away from the Indians logo and the Indians branding that they have, and move to something that's a little more sensitive and a little less sort of frosty with people. So they came up with what they thought was a fantastic idea, to take the Frölunda F and kind of play around with it a little bit. And they put it out. They put it on social media. It's like, here's our new rebrand. And everyone on social media kind of went, guys,
maybe not.
The way those 2 Fs are, that kind of looks like something from the 1930s. I mean, we discussed this. It is and it isn't, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hard one. It does. You can see where they're coming from with the links to the man with the bad mustache. But it's only there because people have said it's there. If that makes sense. If nobody had mentioned it to me, I'd have went, oh yeah, that's 2 Fs and an H.
Yep.
You know, the Frölunda hockey.
It's because of the angles that they're at. Yeah.
I think it is. It's more that one person says it, and then you can't see anything else.
I still struggle to see it, to be fair. I kind of get where they're coming from, but it's difficult to see.
I think this is the
problem.
If
but it's very not.
It's that one person. It's not there, and they haven't tried to put it there. Let's be very clear on that. They've tried genuinely to move away from something that can be seen as being insensitive to something that's more inclusive and sort of just basic branding. They're looking to just rebrand it as Frölunda Hockey Club. They want to represent their city. What's come out of this is really unfortunate for the team. My one would be they need a good graphic designer. because
but
that
then-
logo
but then-
logo's terrible.
But there's the story of, not the story, but generally when you're designing something, whether it's a logo or anything like that, you get too close to it. You design it with your vision and all that kind of stuff, and then what's happened here is they haven't taken that step back. And there's loads of logos. Like, we're not just talking about hockey. There's loads of logos like this across.
There's loads
the
of
world
Japanese
where-
ones that are very.
a lot of exactly. You go, really?
There's some serious ones. Like, have you seen it with the Japanese style house in the sun?
Yes.
It looks like something else, and it's going somewhere that it shouldn't.
Exactly. So it's just that someone's spent a lot of time with these great ideas, as you said, with the F's and the H's, and they're like, "Oh, this has got this really cool idea. Look at it," and then they just haven't taken that step back to look at it from a different point of view.
All I can say is thank Christ the H isn't black, because otherwise it would make it even worse. It would have been too on the nose.
Look, to be fair, we were letting people kind of read between the lines on this before, but if they didn't know what we were talking about, even without seeing the logo, they know what we're talking about now. Look,
we're an audio-based podcast. People need to be told these things.
No, they don't. What you do is you tell them to go to our website, Dave. We've talked about this for 4 years. No, look, they're obviously going to go back to the drawing board, and they're going to try and come up with something else now. They're abandoning this as a result of the online criticism. Guys, we all know a brilliant graphic designer in Belfast that would probably come up with something 10 times better than that. Matty Harvey. I mean, let's see what you've got for Frölunda, Matty. Come on, let us see.
Get on it. Okay, let's move on to the next story, and I'm going to move on to Dave. Let's bring it back to the Olympics. We haven't talked about the Olympics yet, so let's bring it on.
So, believe it or not, this one here was provided by my dear wife. While she was working, she found this on the Daily Mail.
Hold on. I got slagged for bringing a story, and the story you brought wasn't even by you.
Well,
let's be fair, this isn't the only story he brought.
So it's a bit out of left field. Is probably the best way to describe it. So it's not really. Well, it is hockey related. Have you ever seen a player head the puck as a pass?
No.
So the Swedish, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name. He.
Do I have to try and do this again?
Try to do.
Max Freiberg.
There we go. Couldn't find. That's the reason I didn't say it, because I couldn't find his name.
Sorry, Aaron. Your criticism is totally allowed again. His wife sent him a story to put into the podcast, and he didn't even bother reading it. He just copied and pasted the link across.
No, I just watched the video. So, yep, he just as a wee pass into the zone. Now, to be fair, it doesn't go to anybody, but it's not half bad.
It is. And really interestingly, do you want to know where Max plays for?
Where?
Frölunda.
Amazing.
Totally planned.
Amazing.
Totally
totally.
planned.
Yeah, 100%. Cut out all that stuff about Gemma giving it to me.
This is the sort of effort you get on the Door 14 Hockey Podcast, and I mean, these are the links that we can draw when Marty's not in control. Like, this is it. This is prime Door 14 right now, guys.
They get what they pay for.
Absolutely.
Right,
We'll double up the quality if they buy me a beer.
That's right. Right, John, see if you can do a Frölunda link to your story here.
Absolutely not. So we've already talked a little bit about the weekend just passed in Belfast, where the Cardiff Devils were in town. First game, absolute blowout to the Giants, and a huge win. Matt Carruth, the Devils netminder, was pulled in the third period. Didn't, by all counts, had a pretty terrible Friday night in Belfast. Shipped 4 goals in the first period, and he was out. Apparently injured, is what we were told, or what we were led to believe, that he was switched out for their backup in the third period of that game. However, on Saturday, Matt Carruth took to the nets again for the Devils. The game went all the way through regulation time, overtime, and went all the way to penalty shots. In fact, went all the way through to sudden death penalty shots. Finally, the Cardiff Devils came out on top with Slater Doggett getting shot out on an attempt in goal. Following this, 6'2" Matt Carruth took it upon himself to charge to the Boomerang corner plexi in a celebration that is apparently well known that he does in Cardiff on a winning game night, and shook the plexi right in front of kids. But it was taken online as being something else. I mean, guys, it kind of led to a comparison. It's like, what you do in your home arena is something that you should really be doing in an away arena, and especially, let's be perfectly honest, Carruth didn't have the best of weekends in Belfast. Does he really have any right to be making a celebration like that?
Like goalies, man, they just do whatever they want. When it happened, I was a bit like, well, that's a bit chintzy, but the Giants are no better. Now, I don't think they'll ever do something just as bad as that, but we give the away team as much grief as we can, so we have to take it back if they give it to us. So at the time I was like, oh boo, that's rubbish, but then after cooler heads prevailed, I was like, well, fair enough. He got thumped the first game. He done well the second night.
There must be some elation there,
Yeah, especially in a shootout win,
proving himself back.
Yeah, and a shootout win as well. Like
Friday.
He won that shootout for them. That was the way it crumbled. Like he did come back and do a great job. As I said on the night, I was like, oh boo, but looking back with a cooler head, 100%. It's just that see the Belfast Cardiff rivalry is becoming a thing. And the players are now starting to see it as well as the fans, and that was just the elation of getting that final win. Otherwise, they were going home with a big goose egg, and there have been stacks of P45s for some of them guys, So I think it was worth it. Well, I think he would have done it anyway.
When he does it at home, does he do it against the visiting team?
No, he does it against his plexi. So that's what he's done. So he's obviously at that end of the ice for 2 periods. He does it obviously at the end of plexi that he's got. So he's surrounded by home fans when he's in Ice Arena Wales. Is it still called that, or is it called something weird and wonderful by a sponsor? I don't know.
It has got a sponsor name, but everyone just calls it Ice Arena Wales.
It would be a bit of a trek for him to get down to that bottom corner.
If he did that, I would say there would have been more of a kick up because it's having to skate through the Giants then. The Giants players, so
somebody would have done well. Deco would have been straight down and F5 done before he got that far.
But yeah, no. At the night, as I said, I was a bit. I thought it was a bit much. But looking back on it, if we're going to give the netminders that amount of grief over a 2-game weekend, give the guy.
And look, we've got under his skin in games this season already. He's one of the few netminders. Him and CJ Mott are still the only 2 netminders I ever see that bite to Boomerang. Whenever they get right under him, all the other netminders seem to be able to shut it out. Those 2, Carruth and Mott, are the 2 who can't take it, or they either take it differently or they can't take it. I don't know which one it is. But he was definitely like, he did that, and then he was banging the glass up at Boomerang and whatever. Like whether he just can't take it, I don't know. That'll teach him. That'll teach him to give ammunition online and say that he likes Twixes.
Yeah.
The problem is when you do that, hitting the glass and you react to them, that's just adding fuel to the fire. Like they are just going to keep latching onto that and do it more and do it more.
Yeah, and if he'd have done it at the start of the season after a win, there's more likely the Giants would have really laid into him. And it's just about giving as good as you get. He won that game. He deserves to give it a bit of welly, and nobody got hurt. So
yeah, I think you're right.
Cool. Right, I think that's us for period 3. There's no more knocking news stories, and you might have noticed throughout all of the periods we've had no penalty boxes or anything.
No, Dops are on holiday again. They obviously
nothing.
just quickly came back into the office, and they're clearly all still working from home, and haven't yet started their hybrid working system. But it does take us on to the star segment. So Dave, obviously I missed the last podcast, and I think yet again with just the two of you, it was just you and Marty. You guys took the decision to take the week off the stars again. So there is no. There's no berating me because I haven't done a star competition. It's because there's actually not a star to announce.
Yeah, we decided not to. I think we talked about stuff. I vaguely remember. It seems like a million years ago, but I know that we decided not to put anything out because it was just the two of us, as they say.
I hope you talked about stuff because I'm pretty sure I listened to about an hour and a half of you guys on the podcast. But we do have stuff this time around, although I think, to be honest, that we're going to do things slightly differently this time. Marty currently having an absolute heart attack as he listens right now that we're going to do something differently. Aaron, I'm going to come to you first because you and me are the only ones that have nominations here. But I think we have a decision that's going to get made after we both give our nominations here.
Oh, we're going to make the decision now.
Oh yeah,
rather than put it out to Twitter.
Yeah. So because it took you so long to log in earlier, me and Dave have made an executive decision.
Oh right, okay,
yeah,
cool. Well, I look forward to hear it.
Yeah, we just don't care what you're going to say. I'm going to pick someone else.
Well, I think that without giving the story ahead, both are all about being teal tinted glasses, and we're going to go for two hat-tricks going on here. So mine is the 12-minute wonder JJ after the game on Friday. Getting that hat-trick, I think that's completely deserved.
I don't think that 12-minute wonder should stick as a nickname. It's a bit.
Well, that's kind of why I put it down. To be fair, 12-minute wonder is maybe not a good name.
Listen, if you're being called the 12-minute wonder, you've got nothing to worry about. I'm going to move very quickly on to my nomination here. So, in a very similar vein to Aaron's, like he says, we're sticking with hat tricks. I've gone with Lewis Hook. Last night, Coventry, a total blowout, 7-1 win against Coventry, with Lewis Hook getting a hat trick against the Coventry Blaze in Coventry. However, as I said, me and Dave had a chat earlier before we got going, and really, Aaron, it's off the back of the little comment that you made when you put your nomination in our worksheet here for that game, and I realised that I'm the only one out of us that was in the arena. If Marty was here, he'd be able to talk about that game as well. 12 minutes, 3 goals, hat-trick in the first period, on the way to what was an absolute routing of the Devils in a first of a home double-header weekend that really we should have been biting our nails for 120 minutes. As it turned out, it was about 70 minutes. We were kind of worried throughout the whole weekend about what was going to happen. And it's all down to JJ Pikinich. He has been mighty over the from the start of the season, really, but since, I want to say, the middle of November, I think he's really come into his own and he's cemented himself with those 3 goals. So I don't think we could go anywhere else. And again, we're going to go another podcast without a vote that's going to go on Twitter. But honestly, the Belfast faithful are not going to argue with us here, and we're just going to throw the nomination and the star straight out to JJ Pikinich.
I agree with that. I'm happy with that.
Dave, what's your thoughts on that? You obviously weren't at the game, but what's your thoughts?
No, 100%. Anybody that can do that in any league deserves something. And he's been a stellar player from the start of the year, definitely stand out. And that's saying something, considering the Giants this year are stacked with goal scorers. And he has been phenomenal. And he's been a joy to watch. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he doesn't get a better offer somewhere and stay here for another year.
Absolutely. Well, you say he deserves something. We just have to make very clear that JJ, there is no cash equivalent, so we're very sorry.
I'm not going to lie. As soon as the running order went up, that was the first thing I done, because I was like, whoever puts in JJ wins this week.
Well done to you. Well done. You got there first. Guys, that rings the end of the star segment, and Dave, that takes us on to overtime. Overtime then is the opportunity for sort of anything else to get chatted about that we think needs a quick chat, and generally speaking this is where we get a little bit of interaction from you guys at home. This week, like pretty much every week,
I was about to say the fifth member of the Door 14 Hockey Podcast.
Absolutely, the honourable extra member of Door 14, except he's never actually been on the podcast, is Mark. He sent a message to Marty and asked us to discuss this one. So he said, "Evening lads, wee question for us tonight. With Colin Shields rightfully getting the announcement of the date his jersey will be retired, do you feel that the Giants previously were too quick to retire numbers, and on reflection, do you feel if it was done again, they would still be up there?" So guys, this is off the back of the news that after this weekend, the Giants finally set the date for Colin Shields, number 19, to, I want to say head up to the rafters, but realistically to be hung off the bridge. And it will go up on the 1st of April, which a few people have maybe mentioned that maybe retiring a number on April Fool's Day is a bit of a weird one. But it will be the 1st of April at the game against the Glasgow Clan. Guys, I can't really talk too much myself to the retirement of the jerseys that are there. I've only been in the arena for one of them. And it's one that half a dozen times a year I think should be covered or rolled up or ceremonially burnt at the start of every game against the Devils. Sorry, Todd. But what do you guys think? Those jerseys that are hanging up there. I know that you guys have discussed it before, but and Dave, I know that you're probably the one that's got more to say on this one. What do you think? Are there numbers up there that shouldn't be, or are there numbers up there that shouldn't be?
In my opinion, there's at least two that shouldn't be there. To me, if they get your number retired, you have to go above and beyond for your club. It has to be more than just turning up for your seasons and playing. You have to sort of become part of the organisation, and I think there's at least two there that, yes, they were fantastic players, but have they made enough of a contribution to, one, the Belfast Giants, and two, to Belfast, to be retired, in the same vein as they do in the NHL. You need to be special to have your jersey retired. It's not just about being there longevity, it's about being part of the fabric of the team. And for me, the two that shouldn't be there is Hacken Schulte and Colin Ward. Now, I'm not saying they're bad. This is the thing, everyone everyone argues with me that they should be there because they were two of the greatest players in the first few seasons during the Super League. And yes, they were, and I'll never disagree with that. I enjoyed watching Paxton in the early days more than most, and Colin Ward set all the records that took forever to break. But saying that, they're no Adam Keefe, they're no Colin Shields, they're no Graham Walton even. They're Mark Morrison, George Owada. There's names that I'm ringing off, that have played, up until recently. Walton held the record for most games played. So it's just they were a bit hap-handed, early-handed to get the first few up, just because that's a thing you do in hockey. But I think that it should have been a little bit more care to make it bigger. The best example I can draw is the Minnesota Wilds, exactly the same age, haven't retired a jersey. And it looks like they're probably
haven't retired a jersey at all.
At all? No, not at all.
Not
They retired one in their opening game, and it was for the fans. It's 0. So there's nobody playing in it anyway, and it's like a symbolic thing. It looks like they're going to retire one, and it's probably going to be McCoy Covey.
I think that not confirmed?
It might have been.
I think that's been confirmed. The same way that the Preds haven't retired anything. We love hanging a banner, but we haven't retired any numbers. But we will in the next month or so. We'll be putting up Pekka Rinne's 35.
And that's the same reasons. Like they're McCoy played like all his NHL games bar one or two. for the Wild, and he is a franchise player. He was the captain for a big chunk of time. He made a big impact over more than just 2 or 3 years. This is like franchise material, and then he retired there. And that's the crux of it. In my opinion, there's more call for having Thorpe's jersey retired than the other guys I mentioned, because Thornton has now been there forever. Feels like since the takeover. He's up in the back.
So my question on that, my query on that would be that I would argue that whilst I wasn't there during his playing days, that Thornton has really done more in the management side. So if someone does more in the management side, would you retire their number? Is that you're retiring? Or
no, well, I wouldn't do it. I'm just saying that compared to somebody who's played 2 or 3 seasons, and left, then you have somebody who's made it there, finishing their career, making it their career. Especially when you're talking about the Giants, how many great players have we had 1-2 seasons of?
Yeah.
And they've moved on. It's about making Belfast your home and putting the work and the time in. Now, there is people that will disagree with me there, but the next logical one after Shields, and I still think it's a while off for the next one, would be Adams, because of his playing years here. He won everything that was going, and then his coaching career here is already starting off to be a stellar one. So, so that's my opinion. I think that it needs to be more than just a flash in the pan. It might be a bit rude to some of those fancy guys, but and I do agree with Kelman's. I like Kelman's jersey being up there, and isn't Shane's there? Shane Johnson's?
So sorry, what I should have done is I should have done what Aaron's doing right now.
Shane Ward, Shane Ward, reading the list the wrong way. Shane Johnson,
isn't he a singer?
Ward, Rob Stewart, Graham Walton, Colonel Shields, Paxton Stewart, and Todd Kelman.
So the two that I don't see right is Schulte and Ward. They don't really.
It's funny that you say Schulte, but also Mark has that listed down as one of his 3. He has.
Oh no, I'm going to come on to talk about that. So
Kelman and Shields. And I completely agree with Kelman and Shields. Like you know that I was a massive Shieldsy fan. From day one. So I am 100% behind retiring number 19. But go ahead, John. Ask your.
So sorry, that's what I was going to say. So I don't think I don't have any skin in this game as much as what you guys do. I didn't see any of these guys play. I saw Killer's attachment to the team, but by the time I was coming, he was already in the back room. He was already the announcer. To me, that's what Killer is. He was that guy who stepped up the organisation. From the back room or from the media box, that sort of thing. So that's where I associate him more. The rest of the guys, I mean, obviously Stewie, I know him from his bench work, and I would absolutely agree that he's been an absolute stalwart. The coaches have come and gone. He has stayed, and like you talked earlier about the Nottingham situation, like that's the sort of guy that you want to keep franchise-wise. You want to keep that guy behind the bench, and he's absolutely fantastic at what he does. As far as playing, I've got no skin in the game with any of these 6. I've no experience of it. I could happily see them stay up. I could happily see them come down. If they were all to come down, I'd be quite happy to see Colin Shields be the only jersey up there. I would absolutely agree that from my experience of his playing time, Adam should definitely be up there, but it's probably not right to do it while he's still coaching the team. I would say that's something you do when Adam parts ways with the team as an active sort of on ice guy, whether that's playing or whether that's coaching. I think that's something you do after that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any at the minute, those jerseys are up there, and this is something that I wholly agree with. I think that once they're up there to stay. There's no facility. There's no even if you disagree with them, they stay there. They don't come down. Yes, I do think that the Giants need to think a bit more about what jerseys they retire, and put a bit more weight behind it. But Colin Shields is definitely one that I think is worthwhile, even not just for the Giants, but for his work in Belfast, GB career, and then everything that goes along with that. So he'll go down as one of the greatest British players of all time, and not to have retired his jersey would have been a disservice to him.
Absolutely, and it's going to be a cracking night on the 1st of April when number 19 is, hopefully lifted up and not just unfurled from the bridge. I think definitely if there was a jersey that should have that proper sort of ceremonial up from centre ice, it's number 19, rather than just somebody throwing it off the side of the bridge. That seems quite weird as a concept, is just throwing a number off the bridge, but I'm sure whatever happens, it will be fantastic. Guys, that brings us to the end of pretty much everything we've got to talk about. Does anyone have any other business?
None from me, unfortunately.
Looking forward to getting the beers in Scotland.
That's it. So that's the only other thing I've got is obviously now it's unfortunate, like we said at the top of the show, Marty isn't able to come with us now to Scotland. What should have been the technically four of us, with his nephew David coming along with us as well for a Scottish triple header. It's just you and me, Dave, for a romantic Valentine's weekend in Scotland.
I was winding you up during the week because as soon as we found out, fair enough, we all said it was bad news for Marty and all, but now that it's just the two of you going to like this romantic.
I find out that I have to sleep in my own bed now.
Yeah,
we're not sharing
it's
anymore.
It's like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Get the stove lit and all.
We're gonna make a movie out of it.
Oh, the stove will be lit when we get there from a cold night in Dundee.
Yeah.
The scene will be set. We will go to the small country pub. We will drink hearty, and we will make it to all three of the triple header games. So the next time we come back,
are you setting up your Instagram? Because when was it one of the last trips when we went to Vegas? It was like every 5 minutes you put up something on Instagram or Twitter or something like that. Are we getting
the difference was I wasn't driving the plane all weekend when we went to Vegas. This time I'm driving the car absolutely everywhere.
I'll try not to get two steamboats at the games. So I'll drink when I get back.
An absolute lie. That's an absolute lie, and I know it, and everyone knows it. Guys, with that, all that's left is for me to remind everyone of our socials. If you've got anything that you want to comment on anything that we've spoken about in this podcast or any other podcast, you can hit us up on the website at door14hockey.com. You can get us on our socials at door14hockey on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. For the once a month I check it. Campbell, if you're listening, the Facebook is there just for you. Everyone else is on Twitter. It's about time you got across there too. And we're not on TikTok just yet because none of us can dance. With that, we're going to sign off and hope that you have a good weekend of hockey, or a good couple of weekends of hockey wherever you are. I'm John.
I'm Dave.
I'm Aaron.
And as Marty always says,
have
a week. I was going to say it!
There was this gap and I was like, you have to say have a week. It's weird.
I'm not even editing that. I'm just keeping it